Hey guys, today's topic is DSS or Dynamic Spectrum Sharing. Now I know it sounds like a very sophisticated terminology, but it's actually quite an interesting and simple concept which I'm going to explain in this video. So DSS or Dynamic Spectrum Sharing is a technology in 5G networks that allows 5G networks to use the existing frequency spectrum of 4G networks. So as you know, one of the most expensive things a mobile operator has to do every time there's a new technology is to buy the frequency spectrum. So if there's anything they can do to avoid having to do that, or at least defer that to a later stage, that can only help. So that's where DSS comes in. So what DSS does is that it allows a base station to be able to dynamically assign the bandwidth to either 4G or 5G depending on customer need. For example, if a mobile operator has a lower frequency like 700 MHz, with DSS, they can use it for both 4G and 5G networks. So as a customer, if you have a 4G device and not 5G device, then the base station can serve you using 4G. And on the other hand, if you have a 5G compatible phone, then the same base station can serve you using the 5G NR technology. Let's now dive into the details to find out how DSS works and why mobile operators use it. Before we dive into the details of DSS, let's cover some very basic concepts so that we can understand DSS better. So if you look at this picture, then on the right, as you can see, we have a mobile phone, but on the left side, we have a cell tower, which is also known as a base station. The base station is responsible for creating cellular coverage, which allows your mobile phone to connect to a mobile network. Let's now have a quick look at what a cell is. A cell is basically just a coverage area or zone created by the radiations from the base station. You can think of it like your Wi-Fi router that creates Wi-Fi coverage or a hotspot inside your home. But of course, radio communication in mobile networks is way more complex than in Wi-Fi networks because you have licensed frequencies with a large number of interconnected cells to work with. These cells are spread throughout towns and cities, covering tens of kilometers whilst making sure that they work with other cells without interfering. A cell operates at a specific carrier frequency, and dynamic spectrum sharing allows a cell to allocate its entire carrier bandwidth to 4G or 5G at any given time. The basic capability within DSS is the dynamic scheduling of the bandwidth for both 4G LTE and 5G NR technologies. With dynamic scheduling, DSS dynamically assigns the bandwidth to 4G or 5G based on which device, that is 4G or 5G, a customer is using. It allows the cell to switch between 4G and 5G as and when needed by the customer. Once the DSS capability is implemented in a cell, a 4G phone can access the entire carrier bandwidth through 4G connectivity, and a 5G phone can access the full bandwidth through 5G connectivity. In this picture on the screen, we are looking at a base station or cell tower with multiple cells or coverage areas. A cell operates at a specific frequency, and if your phone is within the range of a particular cell, your phone gets mobile network coverage from that cell. With DSS, a base station can use one cell with one frequency carrier to serve both 4G and 5G phones. So DSS makes it easier for mobile operators to launch 5G because with DSS they can utilize the existing 4G frequencies better and use them not only for 4G but also for 5G. Let's say your mobile operator has a 20 MHz carrier or channel assigned to a particular cell in a cell tower in your neighborhood. If you as a customer are using a 4G phone, the entire 20 MHz will be used to give you 4G coverage. However, if you have a 5G phone, the same cell can connect your phone to the 5G network using the same carrier because of DSS. This picture tells us that a mobile operator can still use static sharing, where the network splits the available bandwidth into half to dedicate each of these halves to 4G and 5G. Since we are using a channel of 20 MHz in this example, The static approach would mean that 10 MHz are assigned to 4G and 10 MHz to 5G. But this approach reduces the available bandwidth for both 4G and 5G, which raises a question as to why even bother with 5G if you have to reduce the bandwidth by using static sharing. Now, this is where the dynamic approach comes in. With dynamic sharing, the entire bandwidth can be allocated to either 4G or 5G, depending on which one is needed at any given time. Okay, so by now I'm sure you have a good idea of why DSS is used, but let's summarize things now. DSS saves mobile operators a lot of time and money by allowing them to enter the 5G market more quickly. As you may know, the 5G networks can operate at various frequencies, higher and lower, but the lower frequencies allow them to provide wide area coverage successfully. Now, the challenge is that most of the lower frequency bands are already in use by the 4G networks, so what should a mobile operator do in that situation? They can't just switch off 4G and assign the existing frequencies to 5G because most people do not have 5G phones. So anything that limits the 4G coverage is not a practical solution. Dynamic spectrum sharing allows mobile operators to use the existing 4G LTE frequencies in a way that enables them to serve both 5G and 4G. So that's a win-win because with DSS, the customer can access 5G speeds and the mobile operator can sell 5G. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I've written a very detailed post on this topic with pictures and everything. Have a look at the link in the description below. I'm posting new videos all the time, so if you like my content, please subscribe to the channel. Also, if the video was helpful, hit the like button and feel free to share.